I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psychacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the critical inner voice. The critical inner voice is a very important psychological concept. I think we all have it to some degree or another. However, it can be sadistically cruel in the case of depressives. Now, the critical inner voice isn't a hallucination. People don't experience the voices coming from outside of their own minds. Rather, it's a malevolent form of self-talk that can, in its extreme forms, be incessantly berating and abusive. For instance, it's the thought that judges you very harshly when you make a mistake, or that overgeneralizes global personality flaws from local failures and rejections. It's the voice that makes categorical statements about you as a person in a highly negative valence. It's very, very difficult to enjoy any measure of quality of life when the critical inner voice is predominant. So, where does it come from? A lot of researchers believe that the critical inner voice is an introject of the parent's perceived negative attitudes toward the child. These negative attitudes may have been explicit in the form of physical or emotional abuse, but in many cases, these negative attitudes largely remain implicit in the form of a look, a gesture, a tone of voice, a withdrawal of affection, etc. And the child unconsciously internalizes these attitudes as a kind of negative conscience, just like the rules and values of the household are instrumental in formulating the child's positive conscience for productive action. The parent's perceived negative attitudes towards the child, it's needy, stupid, inconvenient, burdensome, etc., can be internalized as a negative conscience against productive action. So that's where a lot of folks believe the critical inner voice comes from. Okay, so what do we do about it? The first step to addressing the critical inner voice is to begin to appreciate that this voice isn't really you. It's an introject. An introject is like a thought or a belief that doesn't really belong to you, but is nevertheless inside your head. It's similar to how a hamburger is not actually part of your body, even though it's inside your stomach. You wouldn't think, I ate a hamburger, now this hamburger is me, but people think all the time, I had a thought, so it must belong to me. So the first step in addressing the critical inner voice is to make this ego alien, as they say, to begin to identify this voice as other, as not me. If you can do that, that's already a big first step in the direction of resolving the problem. And we'll definitely talk more about how specifically to do this in future episodes. For today, let's content ourselves with an introduction to the critical inner voice, its likely origins, and the first step towards its undoing. I hope you found this helpful. If you'd like to suggest a topic for a future episode, or you would like to schedule a consultation, you can reach me at psychackspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.